Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, depending on which part of the world you are. I am here in Sydney, Australia, and it's been raining for the last couple of days, but we are having a good time nonetheless. So, welcome to the channel, and I hope you guys are doing great. Now, in this channel, I like to talk about religion, and today we'll be talking about Islam. Now, a couple of days ago, a very famous YouTuber, personality, biblical scholar, and author, Dr. Jordan Peterson, made a video. Video is titled "Message to Muslims." Now, I found that video very interesting, and that is actually the reason for making this video. Now, let me actually quickly play part of that video that he published a few days ago.
So your best bet on the spiritual warfare front is to make of yourself and your Muslim practice something so admirable that the light shining from your well-constituted psyches and productive, generous, and wise actions is so intense that people convert to your faith from sheer admiration. There's a goal.
So, you heard from Dr. Jordan Peterson saying that so your best bet on the spiritual warfare front is to make of yourself and your Muslim practice something so admirable that the light shining from your well constituted psyches and productive, generous, and wise actions is so intense that people convert to your faith from sheer admiration. Now, there are a couple of keywords. First one is spiritual warfare. Now, obviously, he said it in a very diplomatic way. He didn't mention the word jihad, but this leads to the interpretation of inner struggle, right? When somebody mentions spiritual warfare, somebody will say, come along and say, although he mentioned inner struggle. So, what is the context? Because when you are talking to Muslim apologists, they will always mention that you don't understand the context. So, what is the context of jihad? Chapter 22, verse 40, it talks about jihad, that this was the first ayah verse of jihad, and this was the first ayah of fighting. So, from historical context, jihad actually means spiritual warfare, means jihad, which actually means physical fighting. I just wanted to clear it up at the very beginning. Now, the second thing that we need to talk about is sheer admiration, that people will convert to your faith from sheer admiration. But when I think about Islam, because I don't follow Islam, I'm an outsider. When I think about Islam, what comes to my mind? My mind does not get filled with admiration. In fact, my mind gets filled with frustration. For a couple of reasons. Because these are the things that Islam teaches. Tribalism. One thing that Islam teaches is tribalism. Let me explain. You have heard the notion called shuhada, the oneness of God. So, what is the oneness of God? That there is no God but Allah, and Muhammad is the messenger. In Quran chapter 4, verse 116, it says that this is the gravest of the sin. What is the gravest of the sin? To associate partners with Allah. If you say that there is God but Allah, you will commit such a sin that Allah will forgive you for everything else but not for this one. To associating partners with Allah is the gravest of all sin. In Quran chapter 3 verse 110, it says that Muslims are the best of all creatures. And what about the case for the non-Muslims? Well, they are the worst of all creatures. 98 verse 6. Chapter 3 verse 110, Muslims are the best. Chapter 98 verse 6, non-Muslims are the worst. This is very, very tribal in my opinion. These ideas that oneness, so-called oneness of God, rejection of everything else except Allah, my tribe is like my tribe associates with Allah, that means we are the best of the tribe and we have to reject everything else. This is actually very, very tribal. This idea, this oneness of God, this Shahada, the first pillar of Islam, is very tribal as an idea. The second thing that we need to talk about is hypocrisy and lying. When a terrorist blow themselves up, Muslim apologists will come and say that, oh, this has nothing to do with Islam. All around the world, the likes of ISIS, Al Qaeda, Boko Haram, all these terrorist organizations who will do the most inhuman and barbaric thing that you can imagine, and then the Muslim apologist will come and say that, oh, look, this has nothing to do with Islam. Hypocrisy and lying. The couple of things that they will say that, oh, whoever kills an innocent man as if he has killed their entire humanity, they will refer to the verse chapter 5 verse 32. But they're not going to mention that this verse was mentioned for, it was commanded for the children of Israel, for the Jews. Again, there is a parallel. This is the story of Cain and Abel. You will find the similar references to Talmud as well. Whether this is fabrication, like, you copy some ideas, you hear something and you plagiarize in your book, in the Holy Quran, that isn't the point. Whether plagiarism has been done is not the point. Nonetheless, they will tell you that, oh, this has nothing to do with Islam, because Islam says that whoever kills another innocent human being as if he has killed the entire humanity, which is according to Quran, which is not even ordained for the entire humanity. This command was for the children of Israel, for the Jews, but they're not going to tell you that. In fact, the very next verse, chapter 5 verse 33, talks about corruption in the land, punishment for corruption in the land. It gives an example that somebody stole some cattle and he was then caught. Again, he caused corruption in the land. And what was the punishment? Muhammad ordered that his hands and feet be cut off. His eyes were then branded with heated pieces of iron, and then he was left in the scorching sun until he died of thirst. He cried, he screamed for water, no water was given to him. This was the punishment for all of humanity who will oppose Muhammad and Allah, in other words, who will cause corruption in the land. But they will tell you that, oh, whoever kills an innocent man as if he kills the entire humanity, which is a total lie. No compulsion in religion. There is another one. Chapter 2, verse 256. No compulsion in religion. Again, this is a total lie. This is an abrogated verse. Quran chapter 2 verse 106 talks about abrogation. We abrogate, whatever we abrogate, we bring something better. This verse, no compulsion in religion, chapter 2 verse 256, is an abrogated verse, but no Muslim apologist will tell you that. So what is the better verse? Verse of the sword, chapter 9 verse 5, kill them wherever you find them. Again, no Muslim will ever tell you that this is the better verse. No compulsion in religion is the worst verse, is an abrogated verse, but no Muslim will tell you that. Hypocrisy and lying. Quran chapter 3 verse 28, it says that we smile on the face. Again, all of these things that I am referring to, these you will find them in the exegesis, Tafsir of Ibn Kathir specifically. So chapter 3 verse 28 says that we smile on the face while our hearts curse them. We smile on the face while our hearts curse them. Hypocrisy. The third thing that comes to my mind is sadism and barbarism. The most sadistic idea that you can imagine. I will give you a couple of examples now. I happen to find them in Islam. Gang raping someone's wife in front of their husband. Chapter 4 verse 24. Quran chapter 4 verse 24. It says that we captured some women from the area called Authus, whose husbands were alive. And we asked about the Prophet, and this ayah was revealed, and consequently we had sexual relations with these women, gang raping them in front of their husband. And you probably have heard of the genocide of the Banu Qurayza tribe. Chapter 33 verse 26. That whoever grown pubic hair, these are like teenager boys who have grown pubic hair, they were slaughtered. 700 Jews, 800 Jews. All the family members, including the boys who have grown pubic hair, were slaughtered. And then their women and children are gang raped and sold as prostitutes, sold as slaves. Chapter 33, verse 26, and exact same command in chapter 8, verse 67, that a prophet or an imam will decide what shall be the fate of the prisoners of war. If he wants, he can have them killed, as was the case of Bani Qurayza, or he can sell them for ransom. That is what the likes of ISIS is doing for centuries. Sadism and barbarism. And finally, moral degeneration, child marriage. In Quran, chapter 65, verse 4, it talks about divorcing prepubescent girls. Divorcing prepubescent girls. The girls haven't reached puberty yet. They are supposed to be married. In other words, they can be raped, as Prophet Muhammad did. During his lifetime, he raped a 6-year-old girl when she was 9, a 9-year-old girl, Aisha, when he was 54. He was not happy with that, raping a 9-year-old. He had to bring forth a divine revelation to spread his message of peace to the entire humanity. Chapter 65, verse 4, that you can rape a prepubescent girl and then you can divorce them. And then there is another example. Chapter 66, the very next chapter, chapter 66, verse 1 to 5. It talks about Muhammad getting caught having sex with a slave girl, Maria the Copt, in the house of his wife Hafsa on her own bed. Allah has made lawful for him. He received divine revelation when, after raping this slave girl, Maria the Copt, he received divine revelation which justifies that this is lawful for him to rape slave girls in the house of his wife Hafsa. Look, I can go on and on and on. The examples that I have just given you: tribalism, hypocrisy, sadism, and finally moral degeneration. This is what comes to my mind when I think about Islam, not admiration. Admiration doesn't come to my mind. If I said anything that is not historically right, please let me know. I want to be enlightened by your wisdom. If you are a Muslim, I expect that you will come up with an answer. That why should my mind be filled with admiration rather than frustration, rather than anger and dejection? Thank you for watching, and I will catch up with you on the next one. Bye for now.